Where do we go after death? Well, there's a famous neurosurgeon called Ben Alexander who gives seminars who didn't believe in life after death, and he died on the table in the hospital. And when he came back, everything had changed. And he tells a story about where he went and gives seminars about where you're going to go after you die. Unfortunately, his video, which is his book, and we can find many videos on YouTube from him. His name is Ben Alexander, and his book, A Neurosurgeon's Journey Through the Afterlife, describes a journey to heaven, or a heavenly experience. And he seems to wish to tell all beings that we're all going to have this experience. But actually, his experience was based on his own mindset and state of mind at the point of death. And this experience and the after-death experience can be different for each person, depending on the mindset. And this talk intends to explain why. And although Mr. Ben Alexander's story is, I believe, to be true, it's not the same case for everybody. And this talk explains why the truth differs from Ben Alexander's single possibility, because there is more than one possibility to where we go after we die, or what happens to us when we die. Hello everybody. I wanted to have a bit of a tickly throat. Some Dharma. Where do you go when you die? So I'll just sit down after this, I think. Then we can see Lumposo torn in the background. I was just talking to somebody about this actually. That's very difficult to teach. Just like myself, I'm also very difficult to teach, so I teach myself. Because I have too much arrogance for somebody else to teach me, apart from people who are a good example. I learn from people's examples, not their words. But the other teachings I learn from talking to myself. The Buddha said he spoke to himself a lot. When somebody asked, if you talk to yourself, are you crazy? He said, actually, no, that's part of how I reached enlightenment, by talking to myself. Talking with myself, talking to yourself, actually talking with yourself. Which is very good. It's very important to talk with yourself. To put yourself in the dock, so to say, in the courtroom, and have a good look at yourself. Because if you can't do it, then you cannot change. So let's get down to, let's get down to the question of where do I go when I die? First I said, well, first of all, when you die, you don't have a body, so you can't really be anywhere, and that questions about hell and heaven, and for example, the Buddhist people, but every different religion has different, similar, same but different kind of thing. Like you had the 9 worlds in the Vikings, where we have 6 or 7 heavens, and if you can say it in English, the 7th heaven. I mean, 7th heaven, where does that come from, yeah? Because in Christianity you have heaven, but many Christians around the world, in English, will say, oh, I'm in 7th heaven. Where did you get that from? So anyway, what I explained was that heaven is not a place, and neither is hell. It's a state of mind, or a state of being, of awareness, that causes your being to feel like that. And so in Buddhism we have you have 6 main kinds. The Buddha said there were 6 kinds of humans. Humans like hell beings from the hell worlds. Humans like hungry ghosts who never have enough, never know enough, and are only concerned with their own fulfillment, and however much they get, they're always seeking more. Drug addicts are like that, or foodies are like that, who will eat when they're not hungry and just think about it all the time. And whatever a person might have as an obsession, it's the word, an obsession, an obsessive thing that you can't stop re-seeking again and again and again and again and again. They say that people like that, when they die, they are reborn in the world of the Peta, or the Bread in Thai, which means the hungry ghosts. If you're of Chinese Buddhist origin, ethnic origin, then you will also know about the hungry ghosts, because you have a ritual to them every year, as well as dedicating to dead relatives and any of them who might be hungry ghosts and need more merits to go to heaven, which is the superstitious part of the belief, because heaven is not a place, it's a state of mind, yeah? And so this is why I was talking with one monk and a guy, as well as reading it in, revising it in the sutras, yeah? That, and some monks teaching, that actually it doesn't really matter if you stay calm all your life and then in the moment of death, if you do good all your life and are skillful, but in the moment of death you lose the plot and get angry and have it in your mind very harmful thoughts and wanting to kill somebody in total rage, then if you die in that moment, you won't have a body to be in a place. All you will have is that mind in your last moment as you died. And so if you're in a fiery place in your heart and mind when you die, and actually before you die, and this is actually the point, where do you go to after you die? Well, wherever you are in the moment you die, whatever state of mind you're in, regardless of what you've done before, how good or bad it was. So if you were very bad, killed lots of people, but then became very compassionate and pure and realized the truth and became enlightened, attained an enlightened view, a wise and kind and pure view, and was very calm in the mind and peaceful, having left all that behind and changed and learned in the moment of your death and in the moment before your death. Because if you were in that state of happiness and heavenly ecstatic bliss, regardless of what you've done previously, then you are in heaven before you die and after and when you die, because it's not a place, it's a state of mind. And so a hungry ghost, to go back to the hungry ghosts who are never fulfilled, never know enough, or angry people who are always angry. I get angry a lot, and so I spend a lot of time in what people call in hell, a place called hell. It's not a place, it's a state of awareness, of feelings, yeah, of craving, if you were a hungry ghost, of feelings of wanting to harm somebody, which is craving also, craving to kill someone, or craving to tell somebody off, or craving to change the world, which I make a worldly posts about on my Facebook live profile, on my Facebook profile, doing Facebook lives for human rights, and I get very angry and I show my human side. But this is a Dharma lesson, or a Dharma talk, not a lesson, because some listeners might know much more than what I'm saying. So it's not a lesson, it's only a lesson to those who don't know. It might be just a Dharma talk to somebody who does know, and to somebody who knows even better, it might be just a low-level attempt at a Dharma talk. So that's relative, everything is relative to other things, because of dependent origination, which is the cause of rebirth, cycle of rebirth. But it's not only that, all things are connected in every way. We're all entangled with each other, which is what is meant by karma. Part of what is meant by the mystical word karma, which tends to, it's non-scientific explanation, and it's a bit become a superstitious belief. Instead of understanding, it means cause and effect. And there is only the now. There is no tomorrow or yesterday. Tomorrow hasn't come yet, and when it does, it won't be tomorrow anymore, it'll be now. And the past is gone. So if you have a craving mind, we all have craving minds, but the hungry ghost differs in this, because the angry mind craves to harm others, and that is craving, yeah? And the mind which wants to become a Buddha is an auspicious mind. It's a heavenly mind of a deva, of angelic realms, but it is a state of mind, not a place, yeah? And the Buddha said there are 6 worlds in Buddhism, basically. You can split it into 7 or 9 or 16 or whatever, 32. Same as you can split a county into different districts, and then split each district into metropolitan areas, and each metropolitan area into sub-districts. You can keep chopping cakes up as much as you want. Actually, there's no lines. How long is a piece of string, you know? How much is a tattoo? Well, it depends how big it is, how many colors, where do you want it, what's your skin like, and so on. How difficult is it? You can't say, you know? So, hungry ghosts are different. In the sense of, as far as craving is concerned, because all of the 6 states of mind, I'll go through them: the hell beings, the hungry ghosts, the animals, the humans, the devas, and the brahmas. The humans, the devas, the jealous gods, and the brahmas, and the arupa brahmas. So the Brahma, that's where 6 can become 7, because you have form brahmas with form and Brahma beings who are formless. So they split that into 2 and making 6 into 7 or whatever. The Buddha is reputed to have said that there are 6 kinds of humans. Humans who are like hell beings, always angry and harmful, minded, attitude. There are humans who are like hungry ghosts, because they it's going to have to move because the battery's going. Humans who are like hungry ghosts, and because they never have enough and always crave, be it for sex or drugs or rock and roll or music or fashion or eating food, but just insatiability, basically, being insatiable, right? So some people are like that, never have enough, very, not greedy, but just can never be satisfied with enough. Eat even when you're not hungry because you're just so addicted to it, or you're already high or drunk, but you still keep drinking more because you don't know what is enough. And the craving of that is also craving, and the craving above that of the hell being who craves to harm others and always angry. And after the hungry ghosts, you have then some people are, the Buddha said, some people are like animals, which means ignorant. Actually, ignorant doesn't mean stupid, it means unaware of the fact, unaware of the real, of what's going on, of what the real truth is, unaware of the fact, unaware of the true nature of things. And so animals suffer ignorance, yeah? Hungry ghosts suffer extreme insatiability. Hell beings suffer extreme anger. So that's 3 of the 6 kinds of humans: the hell beings, the hungry ghosts, and the animals, yeah? Then we have the humans. So the Buddha said some people are just like humans. Now by that would actually mean ethical, moral, not want to harm others, but get on with your own business, do your little bit of farming, maybe fishing. That's humans. It's like a little bit of good and bad mixed together, but nothing very heavy. A short life, which is good because it makes it easier for you to realize the Dhamma, or the nature, the true nature of reality, knowing that all things are impermanent, that all things have an end, including your own life. And so some people are like just humans, normal humans. And some people are like devas, like angels, very nice and helpful people, like Mother Teresa or Gandhi And Mother Teresa even more, because Gandhi fought politically, but he did it with non-violence. So he also was like an angel because he taught people non-violence, ahimsa, ahimsa, ahimsa gamma. Yeah, which is the first precept, to not kill or harm others. First precept in Buddhism, and they believe in Brahmanism, Hinduism too, is a precept, of course, which is why they don't kill animals. Most of them are vegetarian, except for certain ones. And then you have, of course, people who are like angels. The next one is you have people who are like, some people are like jealous gods. So that would be politicians and warmongers, and also, you know, like these drama series where they're all stabbing each other in the back all the time and jealous of each other and constantly lost in intrigues with each other of revenge, and revenge back, pay it back, and then get them before they get you. And to be lost in this kind of paranoid power, tug of war of power and revenge. That is people who are like jealous gods, yeah, like Thor and Odin, and these are Tepajawa. They're angelic and they're up very high. Or the Yaksa, Tawitsawan, you know, the mask I wear with the tusks. He's a Yaksa. He's in a very higher heaven, one of the highest of the dimensional realms, yeah, according to stories and the legends. And so Yaksa are deities, they are devas, not deities. Deities are things you pray to. We pray to devas, but that's because they're better than us. It's like paying respect to them because they made it up there and they are lucky enough to have that existence instead of the one we have. Actually, we're luckier because devas live for a very long time. And they cannot see impermanence, and they end up living in their vimana, and everything's nice, and they just use up all of their accumulated merits, which is something, it's just a concept, that's a conditioned thought, but using up all of the accumulated causes which brought them to exist there in the first place, and become egoistic again through enjoying all of the pleasures of having renounced things so much and become pure enough to exist in that state of mind. And don't forget, we're not talking about having died yet. We're talking about humans who are alive, who are like all of these six kind of beings. And that's why I say heaven and hell is not a place, it's a state of mind. And you can be there right now. So I know some people who can never get enough, and they are hungry ghosts now. They don't have to wait to die to be a hungry ghost. They are already a hungry ghost because their mind and heart is that of a hungry ghost. And in the moment of death, and this was the question of this video, is where do I go when I die? Where do you go when you die? Or what happens after you die? I haven't decided what I will title this video yet. So it will be either what happens after we die, or where do you go when you die? Something like that, similar, or maybe one of those two. The answer is, well, whatever state of mind you're in when you die, because when you lose your body, all you have is your mind, or your consciousness, or your awareness of the state. And if whatever kind of craving is present, if you haven't become awakened and purified from all craving, be it craving of insatiability, craving to harm others of the hell beings, the craving of insatiability of the hungry ghosts, never fill. The stomach can never be filled. You can never have enough sex. Nymphomaniacs are hungry ghosts, yeah, not sick in the head. They're hungry ghosts, alive before death. So the question should not be where do you go after you die. The question should be, where do you go, depending on how you think? Where do you go if you think like this? Or what dimension of existence and what experience of existence do you have with a mind like this or a mind like that? Because that's where you go when you die. In your way of asking it, how most people wish to know about it, when I die, where will I go? Well, Angulimala in the Buddhist texts tried to kill 1,000 people and was taught by the Buddha at 999 according to the legend, because that's a little bit too perfect formula to have killed 99, and just before he'd completed the last one the Buddha appeared and taught him. That's a legend, but the truth is contained within the myth. Myths survive even the death of civilizations and cataclysms, where only a few humans are left on Earth, and it starts again until we become so modern that we destroy each other every time. It happens every 6,000 years or so. Civilization falls, or a cataclysm comes, a meteorite falls. The dinosaurs got destroyed like that. It's happened to humans a few times. That's why Atlantis will never find it, because it didn't happen in this cycle between cataclysms. It happened in the previous cycle, and it was the cataclysm that destroyed it. And that's why we can't find Atlantis, but it did exist before the last cataclysm, which produced the legend of Noah and the Ark, or the Great Deluge in the Epic of Gilgamesh, and the epic, all the other legends of a water deluge, a great flood, the deluge, which almost every culture in the world has. So the other three kinds of humans, which the Buddha said, the other kinds, not three, I've lost count now. So we got to the humans, the hell beings, the hungry ghosts, the animals, the normal humans, the devas, and then the yaksa, or the Jatu Maharajiga, the jealous gods, the yaksa, or the rakasasa, yeah, or the asura, also known as asura, the asura devas, or the yaksa in Thai, or the yak in Thai. We say yak, and the S has a stopper on it, you don't pronounce it. But if it's plural, you would say yaksa in Pali. Yaksa is one, and yaksa is multiple. Or the rakasasa, which means giants, yeah, in Hindi and Pali. So in India they would call them rakasasa, rakatsasa, something like that. The jealous gods. And what's left is the Brahmas. Form, with form, or formless. Let's not split it, let's just say Brahmas, for reasons of simplicity, because that could be a teaching in itself between the Brahma and the Arupa Brahma, so don't include that. This is about where do I go when I die, or even when I'm alive. Watch where your mind and heart goes when you're alive. Sometimes you're in heaven, sometimes you're in hell. I'm in seventh heaven today. Oh God, I'm in hell today. I'm suffering so much, I'm so sad, I'm so lonely, I'm so angry at this person. I really want to kill this person. I really want this person to have something bad happen to them. The world is so unjust, I'm so angry. There's a hell being. So I'm a hell being quite often, but mostly when I'm not meditative and with the Buddha, I'm practicing with sati and sampajanya, by knowing your breath whilst you're speaking and thinking and talking and feeling and watching and being aware of it all. You will become skillful because you are awake. And the breath is an unconscious process, like the heartbeat or the blood flow, which is automatic, controlled by the subconscious. You don't have to be conscious of it. If you don't focus on the breath as meditation, which you should, not just during the meditation hour, but all day and all night, so you'll be awake all day and all night. If you don't, it's an automatic process, which belongs, if you don't think about your breathing, you'll keep breathing, just like your heart keeps beating. It's a subconscious process, subconsciously controlled, automated process. But it's the only, not the only, it's the easiest automated process that the subconscious can take hold of and do the job for you without you having to think about it, which you can consciously focus on and be aware of. Whereas the digestion in your stomach, you can only feel that when there's a big fart coming or something. You can kind of feel the air pushing your stomach, but you've got no nerves in your intestine or liver or kidneys. They can hurt when they swell, but that's not your kidneys hurting. It's the things it's pushing against that have nerves that are hurting. Yeah. So Brahmas is another thing. You could have the mind of a Brahma, which is even higher than that of a Deva. The mind of a Brahma would be a mind of somebody who was maybe sat in a cave meditating all the time, or had achieved it and could walk around, but stay in a constant state of having generosity, which means help others, not just give money. Not give money. It means generous, to give your time, your ear, your shoulder to cry on, your monetary assistance, open the door of your house for a dwelling, to give a drink of water, to show somebody the way, to help a lady across the road. It's all generosity. Or to give people the Dharma. The Buddha said that to explain the Dharma and bring understanding of it to somebody, the gift of Dhamma, is the greatest gift of all, because it leads to the end of suffering if you understand and practice it and see the Dhamma. So anybody who gives you the gift of Dhamma is giving you the greatest gift of all, because it goes beyond lives and it helps you in your life, and it heals suffering. And I'd rather have that than a guitar or a new Lamborghini any day, because a new Lamborghini is not going to get rid of your suffering. It's just going to make you happy for a while, and then you'll just forget how great it is and drive it around and get pissed off when it scratches or gets old or something breaks, and it will cause you suffering in the end. So to focus on the breath, and Brahma will have a mind like the mind that is constantly focused and has the generosity, metta, and has compassion, has generosity. Metta means compassion, karuna means generosity. Mudita or mudita in Thai means the intention, the actual intention and desire. It's craving, because it's not enlightened. Only a Buddha is enlightened. A Buddha means awake. Awakened being is enlightened. A Brahma is not yet fully awakened. The Spati has the 4 Brahma Viharas, the 4 celestial abodes, which are mental, not a place. It's a state of awareness, where you go when you die and where you go when you're alive, inside you, not outside you, inside you, because you don't live outside yourself, you live inside. Yeah, not the body. You live within your own mind and heart. You don't live outside. So where do you go when you die, and where do you go when you live? Well, when you live, you go many places. You go from, like John Collins in the Dynasty series in the 1970s, they were always backstabbing each other, or like wives and ex-wives and husbands and ex-husbands and neighbours, and everybody trying to put revenge on each other. If you've seen The Odd Couple with Walter Matthau and Jack Lemmon, or old Grumpy Old Men and Grumpy Old Men Too, 2 friends who actually spend their lives pissing each other off because they think they hate each other when actually they love each other, because they're 2 friends. Because if they didn't really care, if they didn't love each other, they wouldn't really care and want to bother each other. And just felt wronged, or a wrong view of a self that exists in an external universe that is separate. There's an enlightened view. And so where do you go when you die? The same places you can go when you're alive, in your mind and your heart. Any of those, you can split it into 6 simple categories, but actually there's lots of in-between states. There's lots of different feelings and ways your head and heart can be. It can be a mixture of a hell being and a hungry ghost. You could have both. You might have anger and really want to harm others, but you might also have an insatiable lust for constant sex and food, or an insatiable lust for gambling, but also be a very angry person. And you might even also have the wish to help other people as well, which is a bit of an angel mind. So you might be a mixture of 3. So you're living in 3 worlds at the same time in that case. But what is really important, and is something the Buddha is reputed to have said, is that like Angulimala, who killed nearly 1,000 people, or probably a lot of people, it might have been 50, who knows, one is enough to take somebody else's life that's not yours to take. Most people say you've got to hell forever for that. But Angulimala was lucky enough to meet the Buddha after having killed a lot of people and done a lot of evil deeds out of good wishes, because he thought that Buddhism was threatening the great creator. He was a Brahmin, and he saw a vision of a evil spirit, a Mara, who pretended to be the Brahma, which was the great god of the Brahmins, of the Vedic religion. And he believed him, that that was the Brahma. It was a mountain spirit, actually. It was a Bhuta, in Devanagiri. Bhuta, yeah. Puto. If it's a male, it'd be a puto. Yeah, so it was a Bhuta, B-H-U with a line above it, T-A. You can look it up in Wikipedia, the Bhuta. And all of these beings, even the hungry ghosts and the asuras in the higher celestial realms, who are angry beings, like in front of Thai temples, always you have the Yaksa, Tawetsuan, the 4 asura kings, and their denizens, their minions, which we will call the 4 captains of hell in the Bible, actually, the 4 sub-captains of hell, of which is Satan, Leviathan, Lucifer, and Belial, or Beelzebub, sorry, Beelzebub. Belial is an even lower one. He's more like a sergeant, and there's 7 of them. There's 7 sons of Belial. Belial means deception, huh? Belial, lying, Belial. Mephistopheles is one of them, who tricked Faust in the theatre play, Faust, if you've read Faust or seen the play. So that wasn't Buddhist anyway, but makes a point, which proves the point that Buddhism is just a religion, but the Dharma itself exists with or without Buddhism or religion. All organized religions are just set up by ruling parties, pharaohs, kings, emperors, who put their relatives in the highest positions as the high priests and stuff, so that they can control the people under them and declare themselves as gods, so the people are scared to denounce them, and you get a death sentence if you did. That still actually happens in some countries of the world today. Be you a prime minister or some kind of blue blood royalty. And Kim Jong-un, for example, yeah, you would be executed, but he executed his own uncle with a rocket, shot a rocket at him, strapped against a wall, had a real missile shot at him. So there you go. Where do you go when you die? Well, Angulimala was a demon all his life, a hell being, and in the latter part of his life he met the Buddha and understood the true nature of things, the Dharma, which was there before Buddhism, and the Buddha never claimed to have invented it, rather discovered it, seen it, and then explained it to all of us and left the teaching behind for us to try to see it too. But it existed before him since the beginning of time, of beginninglessness. Since beginningless and endless time. Or since beginningless time until the end of time. You can argue about that because all things are impermanent, so is time, maybe. And time stops. When you are in jhana, there is no sense of time. So there is an end to time, even in meditation, in this life, without dying. You don't have to wait for the universe to extinguish to see the end of time. Because if you go into the astral body, there's no sense of time. And if you go into meditation, there is no sense of time. And if your body dies, there is, in whatever state of mind you're in, there is no sense of time. And Angulimala, in the latter part of his life, found the Dharma through the Buddha teaching him, and he purified himself, and he found peace. He became an arahant, which meant that he actually rid himself of all the disturbances and all the causes of further inner disturbances, yeah, and attain the still mind that does not have any doubts or fears or craving. He's still craving, yeah, because the Brahma was the last one the Brahma mind was the last one I was explaining. He has metta, compassion, karuna, generosity, mudita, the willingness to help or the intention to help, but he also has ubeka. Ubeka means if a gambler who owes you $100,000 comes and says, I'm really in debt, man, and somebody's going to kill me tomorrow, I need some money, you can help them. But if you use circumspection, if they come and say, I've got a sure bet tomorrow, lend me $10,000 and I'll pay you back the 100,000 I owe you tomorrow, along with the 10,000, and I'll give you 10% interest on the lot as well. You say no, because you're just helping him to get more into debt. And you won't feel bad about it. Or you try to help somebody and you can't. That's the last of the 4 celestial abodes of the Brahma mind. Is that what you have compassion, generosity, the desire to help others, but when you can't, you also have the disattachment enough to know that you can't help and not sit there suffering because you cannot, because you are powerless to help them, because it's not your fault, and they make their own karma and their own causes, and you know that you don't want any more causes. So you don't have that. You have a very, very auspicious, very light craving to help people, and a willingness to help people, compassion for them, and the generosity to do so. But you also have the detachment, or the letting go, the ability to let go when you are unable to change the world or to help somebody or change something what you cannot change. You do not suffer if you're able to let go and accept the fact, accept the world for the way it is and the fact you cannot change it. Which in other stuff on my Facebook lives, I'm actually trying to assist what many people are trying to do to change the world. You can try, but you cannot make the world change. It will change when it wants to. But you can do things that are world changing. Doesn't mean you shouldn't try. What it means is that you shouldn't let it bother you if what you try doesn't work. You tried your best, you should actually feel peaceful, or well, at least I tried. But I can't force the universe is not obliged to fulfill my expectations, or yours, or anybody's. It's impersonal, it's nothing personal, it's not directly targeted at you at all. Why is this happening to me? It's not happening to you, it's just happening. It's happening to you. That is the thing, the atta, the me. If you can get rid of the me, the ego, and realize that there is no such self like that. Self doesn't exist like that. There is only awareness and state of awareness, which can be that of a hell being, a hungry ghost, all based on cravings, from the most inauspicious craving to the most subtle auspicious craving, in this order. The hell being with the desire to harm and anger, the fires of the heart, the hungry ghost with the unsustainable insatiability craving, which never knows enough and is never satisfied, and always hungry and always thirsty and always craving, and therefore like a Somalian child who is dying from malnutrition but never dies from it, just suffers the effect of somebody who's suffering from malnutrition. Never full, never get enough. However good it is when you get it, it's never enough, and you're always dissatisfied. You know, you might get a plate of 12 sea shrimps, but you want 36, and they only have 12, and you have to share them with somebody else. They're wonderful, they taste excellent. You should be happy, but you're not, because you're a hungry ghost before you die in this life. And so and then you have these 6 kinds of beings, yeah, with the 6 different kinds of craving. The craving of the animal, which is a craving of food, and craving of all the things that doggies go after and cats go after, and the fear of being hunted, constantly suffering, of the fear of paranoia of, you watch a bird looking around like this all the time. It never has a moment's peace. It's always looking around for its predators. No peace. The animals and their ignorance and their inability to be able to see the damn man develop, help themselves. And the craving of the human, which can be good or bad. This is where the human realm is a crossover realm. It's a crossroads where you can choose, and you can learn to see the Dhamma or not, and you can choose which way you go. And that's why it's luckier to be human than to be a deva, because the next one is the mind of a deva, who's become a deva because he developed auspicious things in life as a human, and at point of death, then having an angelic mind, of course, exists in an angelic state of being, a heavenly state, and is therefore, you think of places, I think of states, in heaven, in seventh heaven. But it doesn't matter where you are, if you're happy like that, if you're in blissful happiness, it's not a place. You know, if you're blissfully happy and you get in the car and drive to the other town, then you're not in Manchester anymore, you're in Leeds, or you're not in Boston, you're in Massachusetts, you're in Georgia, yeah, or you're not in China, you've just flown to America, but you're still blissfully happy. Therefore you're in heaven, you're angelic, and you're kind to other people, and you try to help others, like Mother Teresa, you're angel. You're in the angelic state of mind of existence, wherever you are, alive or dead, and in whichever town or place you are in the world. And then, of course, if you're like Donald Trump and Kim Jong-un and all these politicians and bankers and career opportunists as well, who backstab each other or try to discredit each other and try to play tricks on each other, like Two Grumpy Old Men or The Odd Couple, you know, those movies or series, then you are a jealous god, or a rakasasa, angry god, lost in intrigues of revenge, which goes round and round and round, because fire builds fire, and you can't fight fire with fire. And or you could be just really auspiciously wanting to be generous and helpful and help others, but have the detachment enough to not suffer when you cannot change. Like they say, dear God, give me the power to change the things I can, the acceptance to not suffer for the things I cannot change, and the wisdom to know the difference, which is the same as upekkha in Buddhism, which means kind of letting go, detachment, yeah? Has the 4 Brahma celestial abodes. So if your mind is like that, then in this life, you're a Brahma. And if that is your mind in the moment of death, when no more body is there, then all that will be left is the sanya, the perception of awareness. Angulimala went from being a hell being to becoming a Buddha, an awakened being in his lifetime, before he died. And so despite having killed loads of people, in the moment of his death, his mind was that of a Buddha. So he went to the Pure Lands. Which you might say, well, that's not fair. He killed 150 people or 999 people. Where's the justice in that? Well, I'll tell you what. When you die, you do not go to a courtroom with a heaven up there and a hell down there with somebody with a hammer like they do in England. Because court in this planet with humans, and say, well, or like in ancient Egypt, the feather of Ma'at, he would put the feather on the scales and he would take your heart and put it out on the other scale and weigh your heart against the feather. And if your heart was heavier than the feather, you went down there to the underworld, yeah, to hell. And if it was lighter, then you went up there to the heavens. That's just a myth. What it means is, it depends how high or low your heart is, or your awareness, is where you're going and where you are now. But watch out, because even if you keep where you are now heavenly, if in the moment of death and the last perception, which is the light at the end of the tunnel, turns into eternity, which is the last moment, the last thought in your head, and the last state of mind and heart you had, as the lights go out, you look at that light at the end of the tunnel, that's where you go when you die. So make sure that meditation is important so that we can learn to be aware and not fall into the inauspicious states of mind like those of the animals, the hell beings, the hungry ghosts. Humans okay, but best to get away from that eventually and become a Buddha. Yeah? If you can't become a Buddha, then a Deva, an angelic, definitely not an Asura, a jealous god, or a Brahma. So a human is okay, an angelic being is okay, an angelic mind is okay, a human mind is okay, but it's just a crossroads. It's okay because it gives you the chance to choose. But you suffer quite a lot. And life is short, which has the benefit of showing you impermanence, but anyway, it's still suffering. The loss of others, your relatives, and your own health, and your own youth, and God knows what. The Four Noble Truths, and the four divine messengers of the Buddha, which was you get old and sick and die. Yeah, you're born, you get old, you're sick and die. And the Four Noble Truths is there is suffering, and there is also an end to suffering. Therefore, and there's a cause to suffering. Sorry, there is suffering. Suffering exists. There is a cause to suffering, which is craving. Yeah. And if there is a cause to suffering, there is also an end to suffering. A cause is a beginning. The cause causes something to start. So that is a beginning to suffering. If there's a cause to suffering, then suffering begins. All things which have a beginning have an end. So that the first noble truth is suffering exists. The second noble truth is all suffering has a cause, therefore a beginning. The third noble truth is suffering, therefore, because of impermanence, having a beginning must also have an end. Yeah? Nirodha, which means extinguishing of suffering. That's the third noble truth. The first is dukkha, suffering. The second is samudaya, the cause of suffering. The third is nirodha, which means the extinguishing of suffering. If there's a beginning of suffering, there must be an end, and that is nirodha. The extinguishing of suffering is the end of suffering. If there is an end to suffering, and here's the fourth noble truth, then there must be a path or a way to reach the cessation, the end, cessation, the ceasing, the extinguishing of all suffering. And the way to attain that is what the Buddha called the Noble Eightfold Path, yeah? And the Buddha. The Buddha called this path, the fourth noble truth, the way to extinguish suffering is the Noble Eightfold Path, yeah? And that's another story for another day. So, where do we go when we die? Do you know? After this conversation, I hope so. If anybody has understood, then if 1,000 people hear this and one person understands, I consider that a victory and that I've done my job in speaking. If nobody understands, then I have thrown pearls on the floor and nobody has seen them. Which would be a shame for me, which means I'm not enlightened. Because if I had Upekkha, the fourth of the four celestial abodes of the Brahmas, I do have compassion, I do have generosity, I'm not a materialist. I like to gather material things, but I give them away as easily as I make them. And I can swear on my own life on anything on that, yeah. And I do have the intention and wish to help others, but I have some circumspection to know when somebody's taking advantage and say no. But I get angry, which is hell being. And when I get angry, then I'm not a Brahma, I'm a hell being. Or a yaksa. I'm more of a yaksa because when I get angry at evil things and selfish things. I don't get angry at innocent things or things of people that don't deserve it. I get angry at unjust things, which would make me like the jealous gods, because they're very powerful, they're very high in heaven, they enjoy riches, of having all the things they want around them, and palaces and great power, psychic powers, ability to do great things. But they get angry and get lost in intrigues of jealousy. So I know where I am, but I don't know what my mind will be, what state it'll be in when I die. And that's the most important moment, because whether you do good or bad all your life, where you go when you die is very relevant to what state of mind you're in when you die. And that's why we should practice to maintain the auspicious state of mind constantly, because you never know when the moment of death is coming. So if you practice well all the time, but for one moment slip and get angry and die in the moment, all the good work you did was for nothing. And that's where you go when you die. Ajahn Spencer, for today, signing off.